But Simon Hill opens the batting. A very good morning.
Morning, guys. How are you?
Going really well, thank you, Simon. Nice to be catching up with you into the new year. Let's have a look at some of the results from overnight there in the Premier League. It was a good result for Newcastle, not so much for Ange and the team at Tottenham. 2-1 the tune.
Yeah, the woes for Spurs go on. Look, in fairness, we all know that Ange has got a very lengthy injury list at the moment. I think the team that he put out yesterday was Tottenham's youngest since 2015. And he also sprung a bit of a surprise, leaving Son Heung-min on the bench. And they took the lead. This seems to be the way with Tottenham. Early goal, Dominic Solanke 1-0 up after 4 minutes, but it didn't last. And that's too has been the story for Tottenham. They felt they were a bit hard done by, particularly with the equaliser, which arrived via Anthony Gordon. Spurs thought it should have been ruled out for a Joe Linton handball, but it was deemed accidental. And then Alexander Isak scoring for the 7th game in a row to hand Newcastle the win on 38 minutes. So Ange was in pretty Bolshy mood in the post-game press conference. He wasn't happy that his team had lost. He thought they deserved more, and he might have had a case. But the problem is that those numbers are starting to build against him a little bit. They're without a win now in quite some time. They've got the Carabao Cup semi-finals coming up against Liverpool, 2 legs, and an FA Cup tie against Tamworth, which is a non-league club. They're away from home in that one. And really, they need to make progress, particularly in that Carabao Cup semi-final, I think. I think that could be the key for Ange. If he can win a trophy, then he'll get people off his back. But as we know, Liverpool are the best team in the country at the moment, so it's not going to be for them in that one either.
Certainly won't be. So a couple of games to look at here. Bournemouth left it late against Everton to win 1-1, and then Villa were able to beat Leicester 2-1, courtesy of a late goal.
Yeah, Bournemouth are in a good run of form at the moment. Unbeaten in 8 matches. They're up to 7th on the ladder, almost European spots in terms of where they might finish. And that would be unbelievable for a club the size of Bournemouth. They're the smallest in the Premier League. They have to work hard to break down Everton, who are typically dogged. They don't concede many. The problem is they don't score too many. They didn't have a single shot on target in the entire 90 minutes. David Brooks managed to find a way past Jordan Pickford, who had an almost faultless display in goal. But nothing he could do about the winner. So Everton, 1 win in their last 11. They remain in trouble down at the bottom. And as I say, Bournemouth, well, they've got their sights on European football potentially next season. The Midlands derby, Aston Villa edging Leicester 2-1. Ross Barkley put Villa in front. Steffi Mavadivi equalised for Leicester. Leon Bailey with a late winner, which means it's 5 straight league losses now for Leicester City. They're in the bottom 3 and remain in big trouble. Aston Villa remaining in touch with the top 4, only 4 points behind Chelsea, who dropped points again. And again, starting to put together a nice run under Unai Emery.
On to the next couple of fixtures. It was Crystal Palace getting an equaliser late in the 82nd minute up against Chelsea. And you would have been delighted to see Man City back in a bit of form there, Simon. 4-1 winners over the Hammers.
I stayed up to watch that game. Talk about that in a minute. 1-1 between Palace and Chelsea in the London derby. More drop points for Chelsea. Which is disappointing. People were starting to talk about them being involved in the title race a few weeks ago, but they're now 4 matches without a win. Took the lead through Cole Palmer. Who else? He's having a terrific season again, but Jean-Philippe Mateta earning Palace a point. And really, Chelsea have only got themselves to blame. They had by far the best of the opportunities, dominated, particularly the first half, but they weren't able to get that second goal, and it looks like they're dropping out of the title race. Manchester City, of course, have had a poor run themselves. Got up to watch this game this morning. Sometimes it's a spoiled sleep for nothing, but not this morning. Managed to get the win against West Ham. Not really at their best, City, despite the scoreline, but good enough to account for a rather wasteful West Ham. Savinho's cross, he was the player of the game, really, deflecting in for the opener off Vladimir Koufal. And then he provided a great cross for Erling Haaland to get the first of a double. Phil Foden chipping in with one Nicholas Fulcrum with West Ham's consolation. It's the first time City have won back-to-back games since October, which tells you just how bad that run is. They've got Salford City to come in the FA Cup next week, so a chance to build further momentum and get some of those injured players back. As for West Ham, the pressure builds on Julian Lopetegui. And interesting that David Moyes, their former manager, was watching on in the stands. And I guess the question has to be asked, have they actually improved since the new manager was appointed? I'm not sure they have.
Well, the Saints are in terrible trouble down the bottom. Brentford get a 5-0 away win against them, and then it's 1-1 Brighton v Arsenal.
Yeah, look, I think you can stake your house on Southampton being relegated, I'm afraid. Bottom of the table, only got 6 points all season, which incidentally is a points tally that matches Sunderland all the way back in 2005-06 for the lowest ever tally in the Premier League after 20 games. And they got absolutely belted by Brentford. Brentford's first away win of the season. Kevin Hardie, 2 for Brian Mbeumo, and then 2 stoppage time goals. Keane, Lewis Potter and Johan Wissa. Great result for Brentford, their first win on the road, as I say, this season. But no new manager bounce onto Ivan Juric for the Saints. He's lost his first 3 games. And as I say, I think they're definitely going to be one of the 3 teams relegated back to the Championship. The other game, Brighton 1, Arsenal 1, the late game in England. This obviously has big bearing on the Premier League title race. And Arsenal feeling a bit aggrieved not to get all 3 points. A rather controversial penalty providing an equaliser for João Pedro. The same player was the one fouled inside the box. He nodded the ball up in the air. William Saliba trying to flick the ball away, but made contact with the player and a bit of the ball as well. But the referee deemed it forceful enough contact, and VAR agreed. So the penalty was awarded. Pedro scored. Before that, Ethan Nwaneri scored the opening goal for Arsenal, the 17-year-old starting just his second game. The Gunners still missing some big hitters, Havertz, Odegaard and Saka, of course, who's going to be out for a while. So Arsenal slip up. They're 5 points behind Liverpool now, and they've played 2 games more at the top. And it's looking increasingly more like it's going to be a Liverpool title win. But we have said that before.
Indeed.
So we'll see.
Indeed. Let's have a look at the 3 remaining games this round from the Premier League. Fulham taking on Ipswich Town tonight, 10 o'clock kickoff WA time. Fulham $1.54, the draw 4.10, and Ipswich Town at 6.10. Liverpool take on Manchester United, $1.30 here for Liverpool, the draw 5.60, and the Red Devils at $9. And the final game sees Wolves taking on Notts Forest. Wolves 3.50, the draw at 3.30, and Notts Forest at 2.16. How do you see these 3 games unfolding, Simon?
Yeah, I don't think I can offer you much value, to be honest, with these 3. I think Fulham will be too strong for Ipswich, even though Ipswich got their first home win since 2002 last week against Chelsea. But Fulham are in a nice little run of form, 7 unbeaten. And in that run, they've faced 5 of the league's top 10 as well. Ipswich are nowhere near that, and I think Fulham will be too good, particularly as they're at home. Liverpool against Manchester United is always one of the big fixtures of the season, and in recent years, you might look at that and think, well, maybe there's potential for Manchester United to go there and get something. But quite honestly, the form that they're in at the moment, they've lost 6 matches in December, only the 3rd time in their history that that's happened in a calendar month, and the first since 1930. So, that's wow. 95 years since they've been in this bad a trough. And Liverpool just flying at the top, 6 points clear. I can't see anything other than a resounding Liverpool win at Anfield. The one game where you might get a little bit of value is Wolves against Forest. I would be tempted to put money on a draw in this one. Mm-hmm. Wolves, even though they're down near the bottom, but they're out of the bottom 3, they're fighting hard under their new boss, Vitor Pereira. 3 games unbeaten. Got a draw away to Spurs last time. The only caveat to that is that Matheus Cunha, who is probably their best player, is going to be out for the next 2 games. He serves a ban. Forest, of course, in the top 4 at Christmas for the first time since the days of Brian Clough. They've won 5 in a row. But there might be a bit of value in the draw, given that Wolves are at home. So that's the best I can give you, I'm afraid.
Well, the draw last week cost us, didn't it? We went for a draw. What was it, Everton and Notts Forest? Oh,
that spoiled it.
It was a $22 multi. It was a bloody good effort last week, Simon, so let's hope we can nearly do something.
My best.
Similar, yes, it was very good. Now, the A-League, very busy. On Friday, we had 3 games. Melbourne City 2, Wellington 0, Raw 1, Central Coast Mariners 3, and Perth Glory 2, Western United 3.
Yeah, the Perth Glory Western United game was a crazy finale. And obviously, for those of you over there in the West, hugely disappointing. Perth was so close to a win, conceding twice in stoppage time. And the winner, honestly, it's not just a goal of this season. It could be the goal of quite a few seasons. An overhead kick from Jordan Lawton with only seconds remaining. And sometimes that's just the way it goes for you when you're down at the bottom. Perth, they're fighting hard. I thought that was a decent performance. But again, 30 goals conceded in 11 games tells its own story. David Strilic is moving players on. Lewis Kanga, Christian Caicedo, Musti Amini, Luke Bodnar. They've all been shunted out of the club in the last few weeks. I'd expect to see a few new names coming in over the next couple of weeks. And, hopefully things can turn around. Similar story, by the way, Brisbane Mariners. Brisbane are in a similar vein of form to Perth. And, they played quite well against the Mariners, but just couldn't find the goals at the crucial moments, and the Mariners broke and got a couple of late goals to seal it. So that's the way it goes sometimes. When you're down there at the bottom, the luck's not with you, I'm afraid.
No, that is the truth. They go around again on Wednesday, the Perth Glory, taking on Sydney FC, who are $1.25, $6.10 the draw, and the Glory at $9. Really does tell the tale of one of the powerhouse operators within the A-League, and one that's really battling at the moment.
Yeah, and again, I can't really offer any hope that Perth would go to Sydney, although Sydney themselves not in a great nick at the moment, and of course they've lost their big marquee player Douglas Costa to injury for a few weeks. They got a draw yesterday against the Newcastle Jets, had to come from 2-0 down Sydney. Joe Lolly and Anthony Caceres getting an equaliser in the final minutes, so they'll be eager to win at home. I think the last time Perth went to Allianz Stadium was at the back end of last season. It was a game I called, and they lost 7-1. So it might not be quite that big a margin this time, but I think you'd have to be a brave man to bet against Sydney in that one.
Most definitely.
Sorry, Glory fans.
Yeah, well, it's tough times in store. Ownership-wise and just long-term future of the Perth Glory, Simon, is it looking to be safe? There's been a lot of conjecture in that space. There have been owners that have come in and then moved on quite quickly. The financial future of the Perth Glory as an organisation, from the latest that you've heard, is that still in a safe place for WA football fans?
Well, look, as far as we know, obviously there was the story that I think broke in the West Australian a couple of weeks ago, saying that the ATO were looking to close them down as a business because they owed, quite a bit of money in tax. Now, Ross Pelligra, who's the owner, or the head of the consortium that owns Perth Glory, says that that was an oversight. It was the first that they knew of it, and it would all be sorted out. So, you've got to trust that that's going to be the case. He's only been at the club for, well, not even a year as yet. So, to have more ownership issues would be the very last thing that Perth Glory need. They're in a rebuilding phase. There's no doubt about that. But, financially, and you can never say with absolute certainty, because it's difficult to find out this information. With the APL now being a private enterprise, the information is not always publicly accessible. But I hope and trust that things are okay and that the long-term future of the club is in the right hands. If it isn't, I guess we'll hear about it very shortly from the ATO.
Yes, sure will. Just want to have a look at the Monday game, if you don't mind, because it's a tighty. Macarthur, 275, draw 375, Adelaide United, 223.
Yeah. To be honest, I'd be putting money on a draw in this one. This one, as you rightly say, could go either way, and I think it'll be a high-scoring draw as well. The Bulls are flying at the moment, unbeaten in 6. 7 will be a new club record, by the way. Adelaide can score goals for fun, but can't keep them out at the other end. They've won 4 out of 4 on the road. The last time they met in Campbelltown, excuse me, MacArthur won 4-3. So I think this could be a similar affair. Neither team can really defend too well. So I would say a high-scoring draw, which might be worth a little bit.
Yeah, and we can even do an over 3.5 at $1.91 as well. I just had a look at that goal. That goal too. You were dead right. The bicycle kick. Wow, crazy. Simon, always good to catch up. Thanks for that. We'll do it again next week.
Cheers, guys. Have a great week.
Thanks, Simon.
Blah, blah, blah. Let Marty Young and David Shortte do all the talking on the Aftermath. Sunday morning at its best on Tab Radio Racing and Sports.
Yes, we're back, about to catch up with Courtney Walsh talking Test cricket. Just before we do, what about the result of the Scorchers there on Friday night? What a match that was.
It was phenomenal. I couldn't work out how they lost that game, to be quite honest, watching it live. But it was actually the weirdest feeling when we saw the two players cannon into each other. The only other time I've seen it on the cricket field, from memory, I think it was Glenn McGrath and Jason Gillespie in West Indies in a Test match going back many, many years ago. They poleaxed each other, both going for a catch and not calling. And in this instance, both players just had eyes for the ball only. Bang! In they went into each other, and it was like a car crash. The pair of them, Bancroft was on all fours, and poor Sams was just blacked out. And then the whole game just kind of, it lost a little bit of relevance at that point because everyone was so worried about the two players that I think a lot of the energy that was involved in the game to that point just sort of got sucked out of it. And after that point, sort of the Scorchers went on to get a pretty good tally. They then looked to be in control of the contest, but
I thought they did.
Yeah, but they really let it slip late, and in the end, it was Rutherford that was able to be the hero for the boys in green and score the winning runs off the last ball of that contest. But still think they're pretty well placed, the Scorchers. They've got some good players to come back into the side, deeper into the tournament, and they just need to concentrate and finish the job. It's something that normally they're very good at, ticking the boxes and finishing their games off. They weren't on this occasion, and maybe everything that went with the game, with the scenario with the players crashing into each other, and maybe a bit of momentum and passion from the other side that was sparked from that might have driven that victory.
Well, we're talking about a Test match and a Test series which has been wonderful. Courtney Walsh has been front and square. He joins us. A very good morning, Courtney.
Yeah, good morning, Shorty. Good morning, Marty. Just on the Princess Highway on the way up to the SCG. I'm staying a little down the coast near Bulli, which had the old trotting track and the old still has the dogs going on, and it's a magnificent part of the world. But really looking forward to today. I think the first hour will tell us a lot as to where we're positioned in terms of trying to reclaim the Border Gavaskar Trophy that India's obviously held for the last decade.
Hasn't there been a lot going on in a short space of time within this Test match, Walsh? It's been non-stop action from the get-go. India with their first innings posting 185. Once again, Boland, magnificent, 4 for 31 from his 20 overs. And then it was the Aussies' time to bat, and they posted 181. There was just 4 runs separating them out of the first innings. Once again, Bumrah with 2 wickets, but only bowling 10 overs and going off, as we have since found out, for scans on that back. And then India bat again for the second time yesterday. Jaiswal, the first over, he decides, I'm going here. 3 magnificent cut shots backward a point off Mitchell Stark. He really set the tone. And then the Aussies worked their way back into it. And then Rishabh Pant strode to the crease and decided, I'm going to get things moving here. 61 off 33 balls in 47 minutes with 6 boundaries and 4 phenomenal sixes. Clearly, India went in with a game plan that if you try and bat for time on this wicket, there's going to be a ball with your name on it. Let's go out there and take the attack to the Aussies and get a score on the board and not wait for that Jaffa to appear.
And clearly it was interesting that the attack was targeted primarily at the left-hander. Fair to say Mitch Stark didn't have a lot of joy bowling to the 2 left-handed top-order batsmen for India with those 4 overs in the first over from Jaiswal, as you touched on, and then a couple of those sixes from Pant. I'm not so sure the ball didn't land in Sydney Harbour. He absolutely nailed them. I mean, a couple of... it was one good catch in the members I saw, but I think another guy may well have lost his beer. It was going that quick. He had to head back up to the bar. So it was astonishing batting. I sort of I removed myself like I was in the press box at different stages, and you always try and get out and get a feel. And so for mine, I was really interested to go down and get Kohli's last stand, basically, to see what the reception was around the ground. And it was a fascinating sort of period because I was out there just when Boland started to just do magical things, as he's been doing pretty much since he's been in that test team, maybe a test in England aside. And it was spellbinding just watching him sort of tear the Indians apart, really. And the way it was phrased with Virat Kohli, Mark Wall was talking about it. He said he's mesmerised him. Yep. It's like some magic spell where the bat is drawn to the ball, sixth or seventh sort of line outside off stump. It's just a phenomenal sort of upper hand that the Victorian has managed to secure on Virat Kohli, and just seeing that and then seeing the response from Pant was incredible. So it was a phenomenal day's play, and that's the overlooking things like Bumrah, as you said, going off for scans, and will he bowl today? How well will he be able to bowl? The actual Indian paceman, you've been crying out for I suppose the rest of the Indian attack to step up and assist. Now I think Siraj has actually probably had an underrated series. He's taken 19 wickets, which he's the third most successful bowler in this series behind Bumrah and Pat Cummins. And you would think that Boland, if he'd played all five, probably given how many wickets he's taken, he'd be right up there. But they did. Krishna, who had played in the Australia A games and had a good rap, he was good yesterday. Nitish Kumar Reddy had been really good with the bat, obviously, in the first three tests. Missed out in Melbourne missed out in the second innings in Melbourne after the century. But he finally did a bit with the ball that suggested, wow, he will be a really good all-rounder. So it's made it such an evenly poised contest. I have no conviction either way as to what will happen today. It is warm. It's already warm. It's sort of going to be 35. A bit of cloud cover, but not a lot of cloud cover. It's not overcast in any way, shape, or form. It's blue skies around. So whether that pitch, it looked like it had a couple of cracks late. The balls were jumping a bit. You saw Steve Smith, who fell 5 runs shy. It'd be fair to say that was an anti-climax when he made the 10,000, particularly for the bloke who had written a 3,500 word feature ready to go on it.
Dang it!
And so if he gets it today, because I'm going to say SCG in 10,000 in a winning Border Gavaskar Trophy team sounds a little better than middle of the night in Sri Lanka in Kandy in the first test. So I'm hoping for that today.
Exactly.
But it's just such an action-packed, and we're not even talking about the Constance Bumrah sort of episode late on the first day, or the way the Indians approached, and Andrew McDonald's words last night in press. It's been very dramatic. And
also Bo Webster's debut.
Phenomenal performance, and obviously it comes at the expense of a very, very popular player in that team, and someone who's done some great things to Mitch Marsh. I mean, it's in one way you think, wow, the Australian ODI captain and the reigning Allen Border medalist is out of that team. But Webster did play very well yesterday, and I think showed the value in terms of being able to bowl those overs, which I think in the end that's probably hurt Mitch a bit. He obviously didn't strike form with the bat aside from that second innings in Perth, but just not being able to contribute those overs like Webster was able to yesterday with the fatigue in attack. It's probably been pretty important, and clearly the way he handled himself with the bat was kept Australia in the game.
He looked so accomplished at the crease. He was very comfortable from the moment that he walked out there. He, being an older cricketer that's played a lot of Sheffield Shield cricket, and he's been a journeyman. He's been around the place playing for different Big Bash franchises, and of course down there in Tasmania, sometimes off Broadway, but gee, he was magnificent, and his catching in the slips has been elite. He's got those massive big hands, and what this really is it's another illustration that sometimes the Aussie selectors have been guilty of just sticking with what we've got. Let's stick with what we've got. Let's stick with what we've got. And I'm okay with that to a degree, because it's important to have security and stability within a side, but there are times where you have to make a call on players, and you have to stick with Sheffield Shield form time and time again over my lifetime.
Yep.
The informed Sheffield Shield players that have made big hundreds, that have been taking the wickets, when they get the opportunity and they're picked at the right time, more often than not, they come in, they're comfortable, and they deliver. And Walshy, I think the Aussie selectors have got away from that a little bit in recent times and just stuck forever. And there's been some players that have benefited from that and got some opportunities. And look, I'm Mitch Marsh's biggest fan, but he was out of form, and you look at what Webster had done for a period of time. He deserved this opportunity, and credit to the man, he's taken it with both hands.
No doubt, it was an interesting moment right at the tail end of the MCG test after what was one of the great wins, I think, in terms of this current team under Pat Cummins to pull that one out. It was a phenomenal final day at the MCG, but you saw. Well after stumps, Mitch Marsh walk out into the middle of the ground with his family, take some photos, and he thought, I think he knows. I think he realises that the time might be up. For Webster, it's an interesting time. I think clearly, let's see what happens today, and let's hope that, they can knock them over and he can make some runs. Well, let's hope he's not needed, truth be told. You prefer to have Steve Smith making those runs later in the day rather than be relying on the all-rounder at 7. Alex Carey at 7 to sort of get those runs late in the day. But for Sri Lanka, he clearly offers an option in terms of the potential Funky Miller type of situation where he can still bowl those offies, and you think given the height he could be awkward and handy with the bat, he looked accomplished. But Cameron Green does come back into that team when he's fit and firing. So it'll be interesting to see what they do there. Khawaja clearly is out of form. So they reshuffle it. This head probably goes to the top of the order in Sri Lanka. I know this is a problem for another day, but when you've got someone like Bo Webster come in and perform like that, I guess, we've seen with Scott Boland, you can be very unlucky to be an outstanding player at a time where there's 3 outstanding pacemen in front of you. Webster probably has accepted his lot, but there's a lot of talented players around, including Aaron Hardie, who was obviously, back playing some T20 cricket, and Cameron Green will come back in, and Mitch Marsh had been so good. Until he's obviously with form in the last sort of last 9 months, I suppose, going back to New Zealand. But, there's some options there, some decisions to make post this series.
Big time.
Just got to try and win this one and then get to the, that just about books cements qualification for the World Test Championship in June at Lords, and then the West Indies tour to come, and then obviously the Ashes is a big one on the radar next year. So, fascinating time for the Australian team and the Australian selectors. Big time.
Can't wait for that Ashes next year. It's going to be anything. Now, Walshy, 2 questions as we bid you farewell. Firstly, will Jasprit Bumrah bowl today? And secondly, who wins the Test match from here?
I'm certain I'll at least try to bowl Bumrah.
Yep.
And seen him run up the stairs late when he got back to the SCG yesterday. I would imagine that if it is a back spasm, clearly he's going to be sore. Whether he can bowl at his peak, that's an interesting one, but I'm sure he will play. I'm sure they'll at least try and get in the bowl. But it's warm. I think gives Australia a chance. You would hope that pitch, that it's not going to move as much. I'll back in the Aussies, but I'm not convinced.
All right, it's going to be epic. One thing is for sure, you need to get to those TV sets and glue yourself to them for what is going to be a spectacular finish to this 5th and final test of the Border Gavaskar series. Walshy, you've been epic covering it. Now you just flip on the old change of hats and go and cover the Australian Open tennis, and we'll chat to you plenty about that as well as the Big Bash over the upcoming weeks. Thanks as always for your time, mate. Enjoy all the action today there at the SCG.
Yeah, pleasure, gents. Just pulling the Dunlop volleys out and ready to go. Have a great day over there, and let's see the Aussies get up.
Good on you, Walshy.
There he goes, Courtney Walsh. Here's one for you off the text time. We've got plenty to get through for Retrovision. This is before we get to Chris Nelson. Shorty is a cricket aficionado. What do you make of the bail moving by fielders that is going on in test matches between Australia and India? Should the umpires stop it? Rick from Rossmoy.
Yes, they should, Rick. It's not on. I'm a big superstition man when I play
so what's
cricket.
Been going on?
So how it goes, and I've had teammates guilty of it in time gone by. If there's a period of time where you're not taking a wicket, someone might just go over and accidentally, but realistically, not accidentally, flick the wickets on the way through as they're running from point to square leg or whatever, and flick a bail off and redo the bails.
Just to break it all up.
100%, just to change your luck up. It's a superstition thing. What they've been doing, a number of the fielders have been going up to the stumps and just adjusting the bails off their own accord. Now, a lot of batsmen then will go look at the stumps and put them back as they were. And then there's been chat about, hey, you're obviously thinking about those stumps being knocked over now. So it's a mind game. There's no doubt it's a mind game. But it's the umpire's role to put the stumps and the bails on in reality.
Be a bit sacrosanct, wouldn't they?
They're supposed to be. But, I mean, obviously, a wicket keeper, for example, if they accidentally knock the bails off, then it's cricket etiquette. Yeah, let the wicket keeper put them on. But it's an unwritten rule generally that you leave that to the umpires. This series, more than any other time, Rick's all over it because I haven't noticed it much in other series. But this series, it's happened on a bunch of occasions, and I wouldn't be cool with it at all if I was playing. But I understand why they're doing it, and I think you'll find that it's having at least a minor impact. The fact that they're chatting about it lets you know that they're thinking about it within the game when they should be thinking about the next ball, not the bail. So maybe it's a ploy that could have some advantage one way or the other. We'll wait and see whether there's any more of that going on today, Rick. Thanks for the message.
Yeah, good text there from Rick now. Chris Nelson joins us. Hi, good morning, Chris.
Good morning, Marty. Good morning, Shorty.
Good morning, Chris.
Let's talk about the latest that you've heard regarding the Gold Coast, the track, and the meeting yesterday at the Sunshine Coast. And, of course, you lose your meeting there today.
We do. We lose today because of yesterday. That meeting today goes to Ipswich on Tuesday. So we sort of lose the meeting, but we don't. So the Clayton's lost there.
Yep.
Now, in regards to next week, I can't shed a lot of light on it. They are flying Liam O'Keefe up from Victoria to help, and they're going to put in a drop-in section of turf there, like a drop-in cricket pitch, where the issue is, and hopefully that works. But at this stage, who knows? Because if they had to lay turf there, well, that obviously wouldn't bed in a week, and they'd have horses running over it before the end of the week, so that wouldn't work. So it has to be something a little bit different. These guys know what they're talking about. Certainly, Liam O'Keefe does from Victoria, so hopefully he can get it done. But yeah, if it's not going to happen, we need to know before we get to Friday night at 7 p.m.
Isn't it? It's devastating for all concerned. It's brutal.
That Saturday night sale at the Magic Millions after the day at the races is when it all goes off. Because everyone's charged up. They've had a big day.
Marty?
Yep.
I think they've actually canned that Saturday night sales session. I don't think it's happening this year. I have read that it's not. And I agree, it seems to have been really good. But no, it's not going ahead this year, I understand, which is a bit of a shock.
Well, that's a shame. Well, Marty, I do a bit of auctioneering on the side, and I'd give you the tip right now. It is the ultimate audience. They've been souped up for a day at the races. They've seen all the horses winning the big money, and it's time to get the hands up, punters. I'll tell you what, Chris, that is the ultimate audience as an auctioneer. That is for sure and certain. Chris, the other point, that the elephant in the room, how did this all happen?
Well, no one's really giving a definitive answer. I know they've sent some samples away for testing, and that should tell us what actually was the chemical involved. Now, there's obviously a lot of conspiracy theories flying around the place that it might have been done by someone on track that works there or had worked there, or something had gone wrong with the curators had put something that they shouldn't have put on there by mistake, and it's all a big cover-up. So who knows? I mean, I'm not saying that's what happened. And others are saying that it was sabotage. So we don't have any answer as to what it was as yet. I suppose once they find out what it actually was, and that should come up in the next day or so, then they can work from there. But the club have initiated a police investigation. Yep. So they're pretty confident that it was sabotage. But as you get these days, there's a lot of conspiracy theories flying around. So
I just find it
rumours.
I find it devastating for all concerned. We all love our racing, and this is their time to shine. It's promoted. There's people up there on holidays that have a lot of people. It's a bucket list item. They've gone up there for the sales, and it's just been ripped. It's completely ripped in half and shredded. And I'll be 100% honest, as Joe blogs. The moment that this meeting was moved to the Sunshine Coast there yesterday, it lost an awful lot. Sure, there was still a lot of nice horses racing yesterday, and we kept a close eye on it, but it seemed to just lose an awful lot from a viewership perspective, Chris.
Yeah, it did. And I've got another theory there too, and I'm not I think yesterday was a prime example of having a twilight race meeting, and it's like waiting for a grand final. If we ever have a grand final at night, I'm not for it. You wait around all day, and by the time we got to these last 4 races last night, everyone had sort of finished with their punting today. You guys are probably different with your time frame. But it was all over, and didn't have the same interest. That's my personal point of view.
Wacky day, because we had Murray Bridge, our time, getting underway at 6:25 in the morning with your cornflakes.
Yeah, and we had the 11 racer here locally.
11 here gets underway at about 11:20. Their big meeting gets underway at 20. You just didn't know what. And then Geelong was the principal meeting from Victoria. It was just an out-wide
wacky. And they
wacky
had
day.
A nightish sort of meeting as well with the Cranbourne program that was on.
Joined in.
I think there was a genuine sort of punter fatigue, though, by the time that the feature races of the day.
I did not have a bet yesterday. Not one. Favourite numbers, mate. That was it.
Yeah, so it was unusual.
I mean, you get to a certain stage of the day over here in the eastern states where it gets to like 5 o'clock, 5:30, and most punters, they've got families and other things sort of take over from then. You don't want to be watching races until 7:50, 8 o'clock at night. You just don't have the time, and you've got other responsibilities, or a lot of people have. Good. So they're talking about a Magic Millions night meeting coming up in a year or so. It won't get my vote, but that's just personal.
Better get cracking on this. The opener was Peter Snowden, and Blake Shinn, quietly arrogant, wins the first.
Yeah, but the best run in the race was clearly the second horse, Talk to Be Sure, who just pulled it so hard.
It was massive, wasn't it?
It was a huge run. He just would not settle for Nash. And look, even in the straight about the 200 metre mark, he looked gone, and then he got to the outside and some clear running and finished the race off well. Now, unfortunately, he's qualified for Magic Millions, but he's been ordered to trial before he races again. So he cannot go around in the Magic Millions now because they're not going to trial him and run him in the same week. So he's gone. He's out of the field. So that's a shame. He's a very, very nice horse, that one. We need to follow him.
Yeah, green as grass. Just needs to learn a little more racing manners. Race number 2. Once again, that man to the 4, Craig Williams, aboard La Bella Boom for Tony Gollan, the Spirit of Boom, 2-year-old filly.
Yeah, they went hard in this race, and that was all due to Rainbow Glow, the filly from the Bjorn Baker stable, who was 4 lengths clear, basically halfway around, and she's got abundant speed. But then she stopped, and those backmarkers were able to run on. La Bella Boom gave her 8 lengths and finished hard, and won convincingly by over 2 lengths. So look, I don't know. Zuclair was disappointing, got too far back. Tempo was there to run on and didn't. Voodoo Lass was the one that chased the leader, stuck on average. I don't know that that's... Away from the winner, I wouldn't be getting carried away with that form.
Okay, race 7 was the Wave, and Miss Jolene, Damien Lane, cracking ride from barrier 11, gets the money for Callie Schwader.
Yeah, and was able to sit deep here. This track was funny. It seemed to change about 3 times during the day, and as we got towards the last few races, you wanted to be mad on the fence. Everything on the fence was winning. So Miss Jolene sat 3 wide, had no cover all the way, so it was a very, very tough win to hold off Encoder, who did scream home along the fence. Lock Eagle wasn't wet enough for him. Wrapped wasn't a bad run, just got too far back and got to that wrong side of the crown in the straight. And once they hit that, you'll see them. They rev up, they get to about the 200 metre mark, they look like they're going to run home right over the top of them, and they stop because they're running uphill, basically. Beaten length and a 1.9 length. So there was 1.9 between the first 7 and less than a length between the first 4. So again, a query on that form going forward.
On to race 8, the Syndicate, and it was the Lane train to the 4 once again. Damien Lane aboard Payline, defeating Golden Boom and Prince of Boom.
Have to be the ride of the day, if not the ride of the week, if not the ride of the month. I mean, this was last on the home turn, absolute last. Now, where was he going to go? He was off the fence, and then he decided he'd go back to the fence at about the 200 metre mark, still gave them 4 lengths. And Blake Shinn on Golden Boom, well, if he hadn't have left the fence, there's no way known Payline would have run underneath and got him on the line, but he did. So not sure what happened there because Golden Boom looked home and hosed until Payline appeared. Prince of Boom was pretty good. There wasn't much else to report from that race. As I said, if Golden Boom sticks to the fence, he wins. He doesn't, though, and he didn't.
The Sunlight $3 million slot race. Is this the hottest property in Australian racing at the moment, Private Harry?
He is an absolute ripper, and I'm still kicking myself because I changed my tip yesterday morning due to the heavy track, and by the time we got to this race, we're almost on a soft 5, and he was no problems on that.
Run a record here,
straight
mate.
Up on speed.
1:3.66. They've run a record.
Yeah, they don't run too many 1,100 metre races at the moment.
Okay.
It might actually be the first of them.
Right.
Yeah, so,
okay.
Don't worry. I did see that myself, Marty, and I thought, gee, that's pretty good on a soft track.
five,
And then worked it out.
Yeah.
Fair point.
But no, he's a ripper. He can sit on speed, and then he just puts them to the sword in the straight. So onward and upward for Private Harry. He is terrific. Lady of Camelot, well, she didn't have that early speed that she normally does. So she got buried away on the fence back in the field, but she weaved home really well. Arabian Summer was good because she was off the fence. El Morzillo ran on, always does.
Good.
That's about it from that race, but follow the winner.
And, Chris, you saved the best till last with your halftime report. Cosmic Fire was the best in the last race, 10, and it got in by just enough, defeating He's Darn Hot too. But nice way to finish the program for you.
What did Rex Hunt used to say? A bee's diaphragm or something like that?
Absolutely.
That was it.
They don't pay on margins, though, Chris.
No, they don't, thankfully. And it was only the bob. All it was the bob on the line. And unfortunately, Cosmic Fire got the bob in front of He's Darn Hot too. Good run here from Petticoat, who Andrew Mellion held in the pocket with Cosmic Fire, thankfully. Petticoat got going again late and is close to a win. So follow Petticoat. Cosmic Fire, underrated. He's a very good horse. He'll win again.
All right, Chris, we'll see what develops up there over the next week. It is going to be intriguing to see where we end up next Saturday for the big Magic Millions Day. We'll listen to you on Wednesday on the Sports Daily.
If it's not the Gold Coast guys, I'd say it'll be Eagle Farm.
Okay. Well, that's better than Sunshine Coast. I know it's your home track, but it's not one of mine.
Yeah, but it's a longer drive. Huh? It can be tough with that rail out.
Good on you, Chris.
Thanks, guys. Cheers.
There he goes, Chris Nelson, about to join Racetrack Ralphy, and well, it was as you said, Dave, was a funny old one. Geelong and Cranbourne in the one day.
Oh, my goodness. It was just a wacky old race day, that's for sure and certain. Let's catch up with our man, Racetrack Ralphy. You can head to racetrackralphy.com.au for all of his fine work. Ralphy, welcome. We were just saying prior to bringing you in with that lovely intro, it was a weird old day in Melbourne town. We had the feature meeting there at Geelong, and then later on into the afternoon, Cranbourne kicked in. It was a bit of a wacky Saturday.
It certainly was, and good morning, boys. I'm actually just busy. I'm trying to find the Gold Coast Vandal. I'm just looking for someone with a John Deere spray pack on their back, but I'll get back to you if I find him.
He was, as Dennis would say, centimetre perfect, wasn't he?
It is. That's one of the most remarkable jobs. It's almost like the Vandal had a degree in how to be a curator. Almost. I wouldn't suggest that, but just anyway, I'm trying to find him for you guys.
I've been watching your work on X on this one. I can feel it. It's building, isn't it, Ralphie? It's building. There's a conspiracy theory somewhere here.
Oh, tell you what, sometimes they just write the script for you, don't they?
And Ralphie, I thought that work was elite, but only to be trumped by your work with Ferrari there yesterday. One of the great memes I've ever seen with that fellow flat out blacking out in a coma. It was very, very amusing late in the day. Let's get into this program at Geelong and talk us through. Look, obviously there were some nice horses racing at different stages throughout the course of the day. Identify who we should be following out of this program.
Yeah, for sure. And let's give it an overview. I actually think the track played fantastically well, and it's a stinking hot day in Melbourne or Victoria. Geelong's only an hour out of Melbourne, and under those circumstances, the track played well. I've sort of changed my tune about these type of meetings outside of Melbourne, given the courses are good that they choose to use, and they're well presented when they do, and it's not a bad idea during the holiday season to take racing to the people. So as long as the tracks play well, I'm happy with it, and no complaints there. First race winner though. This is actually one I reckon they'll pick at fence, the Martin now. Second prep with as an import, and when they kick off with a good strong win like it did after the really good market support, you think it's only going to go in one direction. So it was over 2,400 metres. Sorry, they had a couple of runs, but it finally got to its 2,400 ground, and just wasn't sure where it was going to go with the market. It had a good trial between runs and just went bang. So shout out to Jet Stanley. He took off a bit early on girls, but actually, I mean this. This is the best way to ride a horse. If you like that's inexperienced and you're sort of stuck in front, just go for it and see if you can hang on. And Actaeon back in the field there. I don't think it runs 2,040 metres. Maisie was set for this race, being locally trained and won. There was just a basic benchmark 64. I think in the third race, you got the horses that are going to improve, Radio Pal and Holler Amigos. this one's the interesting one, boys. Cherish Me absolutely smashed him. I know it's ran a bit slower than the older horses, but it had the full momentum. Yolo didn't, Safi Osborne, and she's just obsessed with going the inside. And but the way you put him away at the end of 1100, you'd think we've got a horse that we can really look forward to because he's now qualified for the Blue Diamond and it's from the right stable.
Jamie Mott was seeing him like watermelons in the fifth. It was title fighter for Clayton Douglas. Yeah,
and he has probably for 6 weeks. He's got a little holiday yesterday, but look, Philosopher, I get what EJ was doing, and sometimes you're just going to try and find a race that's there, but this horse is just a 1,000-metre horse. He got the race perfectly. I'll give you one here, boys. I'm very confident about this going forward. Luna Cat into a fast run 1,200 will go bang. So it was probably ready yesterday, but just, field of 5 after Lafargue scratches the barriers. Just didn't have that tempo on that she needs. But if it gets a big-size sprint field, it'll really crush the line first up at Caulfield. I reckon this is a hidden horse to follow from the meeting, Luna Cat.
Luna Cat there in race number 5, benchmark 84, race number 6, Molly Nickers for Linda Meets, defeated La Ferrari and Umgawa.
Yeah, it'd be fair to say she hasn't lived up to her early promise, but, class drop, perfect ride, race fit, everything aligned for her to win. The second, third and the fourth horse here are ones that are going to have a bit of fun over the summer. Lee Ferrari nearly pinched a race. I gave it a good show yesterday because it's a horse that can really elevate second up, and it did again. So it's going to be in for a good summer. Umgawa, they finally got right, but it last won when I think I was ruckman in the juniors. And but Passero, it's the switch-on run here. So Johnny Allen's got the key to this horse, and 2 duck eggs, and then yesterday in the finish, gassed out late. Good 1,400 summer horse, Pesquero, and I think it's one of the horses to follow.
Now, race number 7, here comes the star, Johnny Maloney, Bo Mertens. Then the FIFO girl, Safi Osborne, got the money on Holy Mans for Kieran Maher in the Classic.
Yeah, well, how could you not want out it, Holy Mans? And then that set you up beautifully for the third leg, didn't it? So nothing much from the first leg of the quaddie. The third leg, Holy Mans found its right race and right and Rose and Dashing. They're all well exposed, but yeah, in this race 9, well, Bulletproof. She's Bulletproof's an interesting one. Those big trial when they've got a bit of a gap between their last run. Sometimes I've heard that called the lawnmower effect. That's as much as it can give, and then that's going backwards. So it had every chance to run down Romantic Choice. Ferrari didn't, and Ferrari, obviously, it just needs to be ridden properly, and it wasn't yesterday. And Inhibitions actually were stuck at the back of the field as well, looking for ground and tempo, and got neither. So we'll go to the last race here, and again, there's a couple we can follow here with a bit of confidence. Band of Brothers now with Dom Sutton. The trial, it was as much as $12 on the Friday. Couldn't work that out. Well, by the time it started, it was $6.50. Matty Ellerton, who unfortunately had to take a break, and it's ran well. And Danksia as a horse was caught wide, but it also will be better for the run. But horse to follow from the winner, go right to the top of the program, Golden State Warrior, and right in the middle there, Luna Cat into a race of tempo. I think they're the two we can have a bit of fun with.
And tune into your podcast with Swanee. Apparently, Safi Osborne, special guest this weekend.
Yeah, look, it was either her or someone that I wanted to actually talk to. No, you can't beat self-interest in this case, but let's face it, boys.
Go Ferrari. Nice work, Ralphy.
Go D's.
RacetrackRalphy.com.au is a spot to see Racetrack Ralphy's fine work. Closing in on the 7 o'clock news. Get your feedback through to the Red Vision text line 0427 789 571.
On The Aftermath, it's time to introduce the 1985 Brownlow medalist from the Footscray Football Club, Brad Hardie. Introducing the boy from Hilton, the AFL guru, Brad Hardie.
Good morning, Bradley.
Belated Happy New Year, Marty, and to you, Shorty. Good to be with you, boys. And don't forget Sophie there as well.
Sophie.
Get cool early here. 38 degrees, Shorty, today up at Wodonga. First is on at 10 past 8 your time, so when Racing Rewind's on, the first will be running at Wodonga, so get your bets in early, punters.
6:25 yesterday at Murray Bridge. I think the nephew missed the first. He
snuck under the guard, I think.
He looked up and said, hang on, what's going on here?
He's not the only one, it must be said. I'm glad.
He wasn't home yet?
He was just getting in.
Good call. It was a wacky old race day there yesterday, Bradley. And, of course, we know that you love the Magic Millions each and every year, isn't it? Plenty going on up there in that space.
Yeah, disappointing, wasn't it, to wake up to the news that part of the the track around the 500-metre mark, a beautifully relayed track, to be honest. And under lights, Shorty, was going to be magnificent. And unfortunately, a bit of it was poisoned. And they're going to go and try and do the drop-in pitch mode there, Marty. They're going to get some grass or turf from the same course, naturally, and put it in there. And they believe it will net between now and next week, which is really, really good news. Fingers crossed and all that sort of stuff. Because it's a wonderful, wonderful time. If you ever get a chance to, Shorty, I know you have. I mean, Marty, I'm not sure if you have. It's a wonderful, wonderful time up on the Gold Coast. Yeah, get up there and get amongst, go to the sales and have a look at least. And it's a great race day. So fingers crossed, boys, that it all comes together between now and Saturday.
David Harrison will tell you this one. We pulled Piero out of the barn and had a look at him.
Really?
Yeah, and didn't go to about 200 or something for it.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, Harry will verify that one.
Revolving doors moment, Marty.
Yeah, could have been something different, but anyway, that's the way it goes. Now, what's happened there? A few of the AFL boys playing up?
Unfortunately, during the week, it's nothing happens good after midnight, Shorty, as they say in the classics. And Dion Prestia and Stephen May down at the popular holiday spot for the rich and famous down at Sorrento, the Continental Hotel. They were caught up in a bit of a fracas. There was another player there involved. That's yet to come out yet, and I think he may have been more involved than those two. So we'll keep an eye on that one.
The other player hasn't been named yet.
It hasn't been named yet, but he was more involved than any of them.
What football club may he be playing for?
Ex-footballer.
Ex-footballer, okay.
Ex-footballer.
Right.
Yep. So,
and Noah Bolters.
But it'll be ex-AFL champ. You wait.
Oh, yes.
But anyway, that's it. And Noah Bolter up my way up at Mulwala, unfortunately. Again, I mean, so what they do, Marty, these days in Shorty is, and this is not an excuse, but they do a boxing for a lot of training these days. So the boys fancy themselves, and then blokes do want to go. I mean, look at Bolter; he's a big boy, and somebody's obviously chirped him, and but he's got to control himself. Again, sort of early hours of the morning, you just got to walk away. I know it's easier said than done, but you've just got to walk away. And I said to the boys the other day, with the AFL chirp about $5 million a year we put into education on everything, and but it still continues to happen. You just wish, as I say, I'm changed it. I wish they would stop having a break over the 2-week period, Shorty. And I know people say, you got to give them a break. Give them 2 extra weeks, Marty, until the middle of this November. And work through. Give them parameters to work through, because unfortunately, that's what needs to happen. Because if you let them go to their own devices, only a small portion, but it's enough to tarnish the game, find themselves in a bit of a spot of bother. So fix it.
It's a tricky space for these guys, and having been out a few times with guys that have got a bit of profile about them, it's challenging because they do have most of the times. The people that come and see them are good-willed people that just would like a photo or autograph, things like that. And to be fair, they handle it really, really well majority of the time. But it's that hour that you touch on, Bradley, where guys potentially are around them that have had something in their system that's made them a little bit braver than what they would usually be, and they go up and they want to impose themselves and get rough. And I can understand how it happens, and I do feel at different times for the guys that more often than not do the right thing, and just every now and again when we've all got a limit. We've all got a limit, and sometimes they find themselves in an awkward situation. And I don't condone it by any means, but I can understand how it happens. And they're humans. They're entitled with their partners and mates to have the odd night out. I mean, you don't want to have them basically living life as hermits. It's important to have an outlet and go and live socially, but it's challenging when these guys go out, and particularly sometimes they do get picked by particular people out there in the social space.
Yeah, I agree. But as I say, they're either stone cold sober, and that makes it even worse because it's harder to, because people are jumping around all around you and all that sort of stuff, or they're suitably refreshed themselves, which impairs their thought process and their option taking. So,
for sure.
Yeah. Anyway, we're reading more about that. I tell you who needs refreshing is the curator at the SCG, Shorty. God Almighty, 26 wickets in 13 hours of cricket, Marty. It's a little bit unfortunate. It is the Jane McGrath day today, the pink day. Thank God we're still playing because we won't be playing tomorrow. I sort of get the feeling we won't be playing tomorrow. It's just got good enough. I mean, both teams have got a bat on it, but clearly the pitch was too green. and it's certainly played into what we thought was going to be Australia's hands. But India now at least are going to have the runs on the board, and she's going to be an intriguing day of cricket. I would have thought, Geordie. And see where all the cards land at the end of the day.
Big time. When they opened up the covers, it looked like Bob Marley's backyard, didn't it? It was very, very green there. It had been under the covers, and it was a new sort of grass that the curator's gone with the clippings on the deck, and clearly it's responded and grown through very heavy. It's not. I've been fascinated by India's, and I don't know, it may prove to be a winning formula, it may prove to backfire, but the way that Rishabh Pant, and I don't think he went out there on his own without at least chatting to a few of the guys in the team before he went with that mindset to bat the way he did yesterday. But they've clearly gone, if you try and bat time on this wicket, there's going to be a ball with your number on it and you're going to get out eventually. Let's be aggressive and attacking and try and get some runs on the board. And this, in hindsight, we may look back on this 61 off 33 balls from Rishabh Pant yesterday and say it's one of the great Test match innings. If India go on to win this game and Australia get bundled out for under 200, we could go back and say, how remarkable was this 61 off 33? And some of the blows into the member stand were unbelievable, Bradley.
Well, I think he would have had a stone in his shoe, to be honest, Shorty, because not necessarily from within the camp. But certainly from the media and the analysis of the game, Marty, when he got out to Mitch Marsh Court in the outfield there the other day, they all blamed him, and I thought, well, he probably thought to himself, well, I'm going to go out and play the way I know best, and that's the way. And we saw that from ball number one, didn't we? And as you say, Shorty, I mean, even when they got to 100, I think there were, they were saying, "Oh, why is he playing like this?" They've only just got to 100, but as you say, it might be the deciding one. We'll wait and see. But haven't we unearthed some really good yarns in this Test match series, though? It's been fantastic because obviously, with Constas, and I look again, analysis by the media probably put words into McDonald's mouth. I mean, seriously, you can't complain about the Indians getting excited about getting Khawaja out on the last ball of the day and running. Constas. If you're going to chirp, as I say out there,
I'm with you.
You got to cop one back.
Yeah,
you got to cop one back.
Could not believe the verbiage going around about that one.
Ridiculous.
About how mean the Indians were ganging up on this poor young man. Please stop.
Please.
It is Test cricket.
Didn't do a lot for me either. It is, and he was happy to engage.
Big time.
That's fine. And
I reckon he would have felt embarrassed with it. There you go.
I think he was. I think you could see the look on his face. He thought, "Oh God, what have I done here?"
Oh yeah, but I mean, with how it was reported afterwards as well.
Correct.
It's
like your dad's come out and tried to protect you after. Hey, I'm a big boy. I'm out there. I've sparked the fire. He lit the fuse. Don't worry about that.
Tell you who was dirty, Khawaja.
Of course, he's caught the barrage up the other end. He's the innocent bystander.
There wasn't a lot of talk on the way off the. No. You got a bit to learn here.
Boland's been enormous. So
he's been massive.
We've always known that he's been around. So, he has to go. Look to Sri Lanka, I would have thought, as one of the prime fast bowlers in that team now. And I know Hazelwood's there with injury, but I think it's time for him. I know they're both similar age, Shorty, but I think it's time for him to go past him and get into the team. The other thing was, obviously, Webster has done excitingly well. I mean, he's bowled 17 overs so far, which is a little bit more than Mitch was able to bowl, and he got amongst the runs and he catches well.
Correct.
And he brought some energy and some life into the team as well in the field. I thought it's a really big plus for the Australians. So there's still work to be done today, and but we have found some cricketers. And the bloke I'm looking forward to, and I saw him play for the Scorchers again the other night, I'm just enamoured with him, is Connolly. I think he's got to be on that plane to Sri Lanka. I think with the left arm...
You're a big rap, Shorty.
And the way he bats... he's got to be there, Shorty, to support line, because I don't want to see Head and I don't want to see Labuschagne bowling part-time. This bloke can bowl and he can bat, and there's be no problem for me having him on the tour to Sri Lanka in a few weeks' time.
Oh, he has really stood up this Big Bash season. And I mean, the writing was on the wall. You don't do, at the age he was, you don't deliver in clutch moments like he did in that Big Bash final without having immense talent. But he's clearly worked really hard on his game, and they've moved him up the order this season for the Scorchers, and he hasn't missed. He's got the yellow cap. He's a leading run scorer for the Scorchers. He has just looked so comfortable at the crease all summer long. And let's not forget last year in the Shield final, came up clutch in the big moment there. So he can do it with white ball. He can do it with red ball. He's got a great temperament. He can bowl spin. He's a good fielder. He's a good citizen. He hasn't been in trouble. He's just a very easy guy to have on your team, and he'll be very popular.
Guy.
Yeah, he'll be a beauty for a long time.
Guy.
Big time.
Okay.
Yeah, the boys just got that wrong a little bit the other night, didn't they? Sure, they were travelling along beautifully.
Wow.
Finn was back, and we've seen, just a few of them threw their wickets away. I mean, everybody's saying how badly they bowled and fielded. I get all that. If we had made another 10, 15 runs, Marty, it wouldn't have mattered. It wouldn't have mattered. I just think we just pressed the button at the wrong time there the other night. And but Witchmarsh should be back because I reckon the game will be over. So he should be back for Tuesday night. So that's good. There's a couple other good signs there. Inglis with the calf, maybe further down the track, etc. There's a few more to come back in. Jai Richardson to come back in. It's not all doom and gloom for the Scorchers at 3-3 because it's a very, very even competition right now.
That is for sure. Let's have a listen to what Snoz has sent in on that text line for Retrovision. The Australian cricket selectors, who have continued to play the same old players when out of form over long periods of time, have proven a very poor decision. The Australian selectors are the blame, encouraging younger players through the system. Boland has only used when someone has been injured. He's now 32 this year. Webster, first game, age 31. Time to move on. Khawaja, Labuschagne, Lyon and others. There are many good young guys around if given a chance. From Snoz.
Bang on the mark. Bang on the mark.
Yeah, I agree with that. But again, the birth certificate only comes into play when you're out of form. I mean, Khawaja, 38. There's a few players. We were looking at Smith there for a while. He's got his way through there somehow. Hazelwood in the early 30s. Injury now. That's when it comes into vogue. That's for sure. So look, Boland's an old car, low case, Shorty, as we say. So he's got plenty of time to come. And I always remember there's a great player called Michael Hussey who came on the scene at about age 30, 31, Shorty, before he got a chance. And the amount of test matches they play these days, Marty, carved out a magnificent career for himself. So, Webster, what is he, 30, 31, I think, somewhere around there?
Yeah, 30, so, that's it.
If he stays sound, there's 3-4 really good years in that young man. So if he continues on the trajectory that he's on right now, Snoz.
Gives great versatility to the side as well. He can bowl off spin as well as his seam up and then middle order.
Just like this. I like his attitude and his aggression. I love big men that want to throw and impose themselves into contests like him.
A bit of Tom Moody about him.
Shorty, you'll appreciate it. And he's got hands like Ivan Glusina.
There you go.
He said that yesterday.
I wheeled that out yesterday, Bradley. You're a good judge. Plenty of eggs fit into those hands.
Yeah.
Big Ivan. Didn't he have some big hands? But as we said, we spoke about Eva, we don't need to go over it, but, we've got Constance now who's come on the scene. You've got Connolly waiting in the wings. We haven't seen a lot of McSweeney. He's had the 3 tests and got dudded, to be honest.
I reckon he was.
That he wasn't. So there's 3 guys there in their late teens, early 20s who surely can be the future of Australian cricket a little further down the track.
The one guy I feel for when you look at these guys that are bringing rolled gold Sheffield Shield form into the test side and delivering, and it sticks out like the nose on your face, is Cam Bancroft, because the amount of Sheffield Shield runs that this young guy made, or not young anymore, but he made over the last 2.5 years. And then when the moment came, we need an opener. Unfortunately for him, it was just a patch where he was out of form. But, for those that 2-year period where he was a leading Shield Shield run scorer, he was belting the door down and couldn't get a look in, Bradley. I feel for him because it's shown again when you're in that sort of form, you do transfer it from Shield cricket to Test cricket. And look, I'm afraid that boat may well have sailed for Cam. And I felt for him the other night. That was a sickening blow with himself and Daniel Sams in that Big Bash contest. But he's the one guy, when you look at that form standing up, you really got a feel for in recent times.
My word.
Marty, you got
broken
another
collarbone too out of that.
Brutal.
Just on Cam. The other thing is we may get what we wish for a little bit, Shorty, because if they go to Sri Lanka and they work it out that Khawaja shouldn't be going because they've got to prepare for the Test Match Championship or whatever, he may last till then, but he won't last after that. Maybe they go back to Marcus Harris, another West Australian playing for Victoria. He's getting a lot of runs at the moment. I think maybe could we do that? Could we bring Harris back in to take him across to Sri Lanka and open the batting with Constance?
Okay, let's have a look at this from Lisa of Ellenbrook, who wishes us all and all our listeners a happy new year. A sickening collision between Sams and Bancroft. Hope they both recover well. Who's got the fractured collarbone out of that?
Bancroft.
Bancroft.
Yep.
Scorchers could have made 200 runs. Their fielding was poor. They were sloppy and fumbling. Even Ashton Turner dropping a sitter, which he would normally have taken every day of the week. What happens with the game between the Sixers and Heat? Well done to Webster on his debut, but now he has to back it up. Sam Constas is getting a little vocal and needs to let his bat do the talking. And surely Scott Boland has to be in the Australian team. 8 wickets in 2 days. All the best of the Wildcats. Have a great weekend, everyone. That is from Lisa of Allenbrook. 19 wickets, Scott Boland, in this series at, 14?
He's been unbelievable.
Yeah. Yeah, and then again, he's been, any other series, he would have been the man of the series. But there's a bloke called Bumrah.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Who's been doing, it's just, but they've both been fantastic, haven't they? They've been both brilliant. And,
big time.
Hopefully Big Bumrah can get out there and bowl at some point today. They're saying back spasms and all that sort of stuff. You sort of think it might be a little bit more than that, but he'll get out there. Jeez, he's great. He ran up the stairs there, Shorty, when he came back after the scans. You suggest to me that he'll bat and he'll bowl. So, yeah, again, how fantastic both of those bowlers have been in this current series.
It's been a real bowler series, hasn't it? The batsmen have struggled, other than probably Travis Head, Jaiswal and Smith on a couple of occasions. It's really been a bowler series. That game today, Perth Wildcats take on New Zealand, 11:30 tip-off, Breakers 305, Wildcats $1.38. Line betting on that game is at 6 points. So good luck to the Wildcats there. It's a game that they really should be winning by rights on recent form.
Gee, the NBL tipped up on its side again the last 2 days, hasn't it?
Big time. There's been some massive boilovers.
Hawks were minus 18 and got beat on Friday night.
On the line,
Well, they got, and then Melbourne have got beaten as well by Adelaide, who are now deciding to be resurgent again.
And didn't just win, absolutely smoked them.
Yep. So it's...
Yeah, United are in a bit of a trough at the moment over here, and they aren't going well at all, that's for sure. And a pretty good game of cricket in the Derby here last night too, Shorty, between
that was tight.
The Renegades and the Stars. The Stars are getting back, and it's the West Australian boys leading the way, Stoinis and Hilton Cartwright, which is really, really, really makes you angry at times because you don't want them to play well for somebody else. But that's the nature of the beast these days, isn't it? Over 40,000 there too, Marty, which was good.
That was encouraging. 121 metres that hit from Hilton Cartwright there last night. Downtown, bang, straight to sort of through mid-on and just kept on going and going and going. A double-decker. It was a gorgeous shot. You'll see it on the highlight
Is that a record? What's the record?
I think O'Donnell might have the record still, which is a few metres higher still. But it was a good hit, Bradley, that's for sure and certain. I think cricket's had a resurgence this summer. I'm happy to declare it. I think the game had been on the nose for a pretty significant period of time, but I think the way that India have sort of got under the skin of the Aussies, I think the fans are warming back to this Aussie cricket side at the moment. And I think knowing that the Ashes is on this time next year, Bradley, you'd want to start ringing around and organising some tickets almost now because they are going to be the hottest tickets you can imagine for a long period of time, tickets to the Ashes this time next summer.
Oh, I know. Can't wait for that, Shorty, but years go fast enough, so we won't wish our lives away. But, you're 100% right. And it's good because, look, even though the Australians have won a fair bit over the last couple of years, Shorty, there's still that agitation out there amongst the public. They're divided that, I really don't like them. You know what I mean? But we're glad they're winning, but we don't like them. But with the Indians getting under their skin, all of a sudden, as you say, Shorty, sometimes that can be the needle, Marty, just to bring you back over the fence and say, well, come on, Aussies, stick it up them. That's why we get in behind them. So it's well done to both teams because I've thoroughly enjoyed the shoulder dip and all the verbals and all sorts of things.
Siraj got involved early, didn't he?
Big time. It's been great. And when we're talking about fire and brimstone and coaches saying, they've stepped over the line and fans stepping in and blowing up, that's because it means something. And that's what sport is great when there is fan engagement and both sides are going nuts. I think it's wonderful and long may it continue.
Well, from the day-to-day, pressures that everybody's under, for whatever reason, whatever it may be, It's good to go to the sport, isn't it? And yell and scream and cheer and do what you within, as long as it'll stay within the parameters of what we talk about when you're yelling out. But it's great. I mean, imagine going to the football and at Optus Stadium and watching the West Coast or Fremantle play, boys, and having polite claps like if somebody just hit a par on the golf course.
Yeah, we've got one off the text line here, boys. What did you make of Smith diving in front of Khawaja and dropping the catch yesterday?
Yeah. Well, he's entitled. He thought he could get it. And Khawaja's flat-footed anyway. He might not have caught it anyway. I wouldn't have thought. He's just...
I reckon that sums up how Khawaja's going at the moment. He had his name on that one.
A big style. Yeah, sometimes.
And the other day, I think Smith drew it on his foot too at one stage. It's just one of those things. You just want to get out of the way. You know what I mean? So him and Ralph Chalmers should have a race to the tee box for the carrot egg sandwiches. That's what I reckon.
Just one
Remember
on.
that, Shorty?
Oh, don't mind that, Bradley.
Oh, yeah. Just one on India, though. They're in a similar boat to us, that they need to move on a few of these senior players that have hit the precipice.
Yeah.
They
will. They will. I mean, Coley finally got angry with himself. I mean, how many times can you get out the same way, mate? I mean, what's the definition of lunacy? Just continue to do the same thing and expecting a different result. He was so disciplined there for a while. He's got him out 4 or 5 times doing exactly the same thing. You just wonder, a bloke has been so good and so classy, with the bat, and then given us enjoyment for a number of years, whether we like him or not. Just getting out the same way. It's quite bizarre. But he's right on the edge.
Oh, you say it so many times on this radio station about all sports. You hit this precipice, you don't even see it coming, and then you're over it, and it's too late. Gone.
Yep, too late. Yep.
And it doesn't matter how good you've been.
Very, very quickly.
It doesn't matter how good you've been. The greatest of champions, everybody finds that tipping point at some stage, and it's your reflexes. And the worst thing about it, Bradley, is most of the time, once it happens, you start doing the most out-of-character things. Guys that have been unflappable throughout the course of their career and seemingly have been completely on top of their games. You've never seen them get aggressive or vocal or nasty. And that's not the case with Coley, because that's been how he's operated right the way through. But many that have seemed unflappable and just the most calm and relaxed characters find themselves lashing out at teammates, at opposition, guys that you've had the number of for 10, 12, 14 years, all of a sudden give you the run by, and it is the most frustrating and brutal for 6 to 12 months of these people's lives, Bradley, coming to terms with the fact that those magical powers are just about finished.
Well, he self-appointed him in the locker room as the Mr. Fix-It. That's what he calls himself in the rooms, Coley. But even though he hasn't been getting the runs required, but he's got everybody else sparked up. Where Rowan wasn't doing that, Sharma wasn't doing that. You see the pre-game, the speech, the field placings. He's sort of really the unofficial captain now anyway, so he knows what it means to them. He wants to go home with at least that trophy intact by having the audacity to pinch this last test. So he'll be working overtime, particularly when they go back in the field, to make sure that happens. And you need that. That's what you need from your skipper. You need somebody who may not necessarily be doing the best themselves, but try and does their best to generate everybody else's best to come out of themselves. And that's not an easy thing to do.
Okay, Sunday Saviour time. Last week's winner was Trevor from Leeming. Trevor from Leeming. And we've got a couple of runner-ups who are very good, Greg and Rick, but Trevor from Leeming will be getting the $100 Tab Touch voucher. What have you got for us this week, Bradley?
Well, quick apology to our man in Boulder last week. We were home for all money, sir. Our videos hit the front. Never going to get beat, but did. Anyway, but we'll go to Mornington Race 2, number 7, Ortegian Girl. Just put in, take out, $2, jump to the front, see how far they go. It'll be winning. Mornington Race 2, number 7 there, Marty. Mornington Race 3, number 1, we'll get a race-to-race double with Spear, $2.15. That's spelled S-P-E-I-R. And then we'll go to Lismore Race 3, number 4. Groovy Day, Shorty, I hope it is. $1.75. So $2 for Ortegian Girl, $2.15 for Spear. They're both at Mornington. And then go to Groovy Day Race 3, number 4 at Lismore, $1.75. $7.52, we'll take the money.
Oh, beautifully done, Bradley. For Retrovision, Group 1 Morts. And of course,
Group 1 Morts.
1, 2, 3.
Superstar. Don't forget the Nude Nut. He's a beauty. 1-800-100-100. People get themselves in a bit of a tie-up this time of the year.
Yes.
Shorty, he can do things the banks can't. And don't forget during the week, Frankie Lee at Ross's Auction, East State Wide as well, boys.
Thank you, Brad.
Thanks,
Listening
Bradley.
during the week.
All the best, lads.
There he is.
Cheers.
And you can catch him on 3AW for the next 3 weeks if you want to listen in on the net. Baltimore Ravens 21 leading the Cleveland Browns 21-3. The final round of the NFL, David. And
Yes.
then the playoffs commence.
Ooh, it's on, Marty. You know the big game that I'm looking forward to.
Yeah.
Big Buffalo Bills, man, and that
Kansas
clash with
got the
Kansas
week off.
City. It's going to be anything.
They get the week
surely,
off.
please,
They get the week
please,
off.
Buffalo, please be this year.
The Ravens are going well, 21-3 against the Browns at this early stage. Time for a break. You're listening to The Aftermath. Just repeating, Trevor. Where was Trevor from?
Leeming, from Leeming.
He has won the $100 Tap Touch voucher.
Uncle Tommy away cleanly, showing early dash is rare speed. Barbecue Man the fence, Ike Bale deeper out, and then Shimmer Dream, Motor City Rossi, West on Tilly and Sunset Viper. Leader Uncle Tommy, Barbecue Man's got the fence, is pushing through, and then Shimmer Dream. Uncle Tommy in front, Barbecue Man the rail, but Uncle Tommy's still ahead. Uncle Tommy beat Barbecue Man, Shimmer Dream, Ike Bale, and then
Well, that was the Heat 5 of the Birthday Cup at Mandurah there on Friday night. It was a great weekend for Steve Withers, who joins us. Very good morning, Steve.
Boys, how do we find you on Sunday morning?
Well, very fresh today.
Indeed. You'd be feeling pretty well yourself, Steve. It's been an excellent weekend. We just heard Uncle Tommy winning a heat of the Birthday Cup there on Friday night, our richest 400-metre race on the calendar, and you butted up and had a very good Saturday night visit to the track as well, taking out the Claude Power final last night with Better Call. You won the first race on the program with Toxic Park, and your other runner, Boracay Summer, finished runner-up in a mixed grade 3 and 4 and was a super run. It's been a very nice weekend for the camp.
Even a broken clock's right twice a day, Shorty.
Well, your clock's been right for 3 separate occasions on the weekend, so I think we can claim that it's a little more than lucky, and you've got your dogs in really good order. Let's start, though, on Friday night with Uncle Tommy. He's been a wonderful campaigner for your kennel, a dual Group 1 winner. This is a rich series full of very good greyhounds. Ran into a good heat there on Friday night. Barbecue Man, we know, is one of the most talented sprinters in WA, but Uncle Tommy really did cash in on that inside draw. He loves having the red on his back.
Yeah, absolutely, and he was probably very fortunate to have the red there. It was tight early, and he burrowed through, but yeah, you couldn't be any more prouder of him as a dog. He's made 110% of every piece of ability he's been gifted, and he turns up when it's time, and he gets a little bit of luck, and he makes the most of it.
Steve, what's the box draw like for the final?
It's absolute vomitron. It looks really tough. You're looking at a really strong race of really sharp sprinters, and you're drawn to pink to start with, and a couple of dogs just inside of you that are happy to work up wider on the track. So, it looks really difficult for him from out there.
Just quickly, that box draw in the red Sunset Nightjar, 2 Starlight Panama, Aston Costello in 3, Curious Georgia in 4, Surf the Sun in 5, Sunset Mirage in 6, Wise Barra, a noted wide runner in 7, and there is Uncle out there in box number 8, Uncle Tommy. It's just going to have to really nail that start, Tommy, isn't he, from that draw, Steve, and hope that you can sort of get that work over. But with Wise Barra drawn inside, who likes to stay up the track, you're really going to have to sort of almost come up under the lids to get around Wise Barra early doors.
Yeah, it looks messy, but I guess this is one time when we're thankful we don't have to give jockey instructions, because I don't know what I'd say. So we'll get him as healthy and fit and happy as we can this week, and take him there in peak condition, and let him come up with the tricky solutions.
Indeed. Last night, the Claude Power final, another outstanding quality lineup, really good field. Better Call you produced, hadn't been seen since the 5th of September there at Northam, so pretty significant time between runs. It had 8 starts at Mandurah track and trip prior to last night for 3 seconds and 4 thirds, so placed 7 of 8, but no wins. But the big money race is on, and Better Call produced a wonderful performance in the run. It was certainly looking like Vanales, who's a very strong dog, had the camp on the leader and was potentially going to be all over the top. But Better Call just chimed in, maintained that run up along the inside, and in the end was a really impressive winner. You must have been delighted with this run.
Yeah, over delighted. First up, you sort of threw him in the deep end and then seen the box draw and Vinalis, which a couple other dogs in the field as well. You got a massive respect for. You know, they go really well. And, he's really raised the bar there since he had a little bit of injury time off, and he's trialled nice coming back, but probably wasn't quite ready for 500 metres really on the work he'd been given. So. It's a bit of a head scratcher this morning. You just wonder whether has he taken that next step? What's he going to produce in the next 6 months? It's certainly something that we'll probably stay very aware of and watch closely now.
Steve, you're talking about giving jockeys instructions. Well, that was some sort of a ride on Uncle Tommy. Don't worry about that. On Better Call. Don't worry about that.
Troy Turner special, get to the rails and just keep sticking.
Wow.
And Vinala's in the run had the advantage over the dog sort of turning for home, and then Better Call, the whole home running, just made all the right decisions, ducked back to the inside. And so let's just for the uninitiated, the mother of this dog, West on Poppy, is a producer that you've had really good success with the litter to Tommy Shelby the first time around. This is the litter to Aussie Infrared. It must be said they haven't got to the same levels as what the Tommy Shelby litter had, but this now, maybe with a bit of time and maturity, this could be the sign that maybe this litter have just taken a little bit longer to work it all out.
Possibly, yeah. Look, she's been a really great find for us as a brood. The first litter was fantastic. Uncle Tommy and Kane and Stark and a few others in the Little Lip Tricks and the like. They were great. So, this guy, you got to believe what you see sometimes, I suppose. And he trialled up really nice over the 400s leading into the race, but we hadn't stretched him any further, and the race was there, so we thought we'd give him an opportunity just to see where he was at, and he put an exclamation mark on it, and very interested to see what he does in his next few runs and where he gets to over the next few months.
So has he shown a propensity to do that before in the past, to take inside runs and run like that?
Certainly a railer, yeah. He certainly really does his best work strongly along the rail, and if the doors keep opening up, he keeps pushing along. He'd the switch up from Mandurah, where he'd been placed, up to Northam and went through his maiden and novices, was a pretty good period for him. He certainly grew a lot when he was up at Northam before he hurt himself, and those runs were good, a really nice dog. But I would have thought last night was probably a yard better than what he'd shown previously.
Outstanding. Yeah, looks to be one for the Black Book Better Call, that is for sure and certain. Steve, you also had a winner of the first there last night, Toxic Parker, a youngster by Koblenz, out a little bit sleek. I like the way it went about its work. It was a really nice debut performance for you from box number 7, rolled to the top and gave nothing else a chance.
Yeah, look, probably a full circle moment, that one. I'm training a dog there for the guy who got me started in greyhounds in the first place, in Mark Simpson, and so it's a special little task for you there to go back to where it all started and repay the favours that you were gifted once yourself.
Yeah, it brings back some good memories, but also some bad memories with a stud dog they had many years ago, Marty. This is a story that still scars me. They had a dog that they were trying to get into the stud dog business called Scotter Play. And they said, Davo, now you go and hold him and we'll bring the bitch over. And what happened from there can only be described as an absolute blackout. I ended up having
a YouTube channel.
It was horrible scene. So he got very excited prior to the bitch arriving.
Oh, really?
And I was there holding him, and
awesome.
It was not ideal, it must be said. So spent the next week under the hot shower and soap trying to get myself feeling a little better. But that's a story for another day. And your other runner, Steve, on the night, which I think we can follow heading forward. It's been unlucky, this dog. Won a Dawesville Cup heat, had no luck in the final again last night, about to take the leading spot, Boracay Summer, and then badly chopped out, and then came again late, was only beaten a narrow margin behind Surges Banner. Boracay Summer is a dog that we could be following. Just an ounce of luck. Surely it's winning again soon.
It's certainly one that's got our attention. She'd shown a little bit in Victoria, enough to give us a chance to take her on and give her a little go here. And yeah, she's. I don't know whether we've found the bottom of her quite yet. She's settled in really nice, and she's a lovely bitch. And yeah, I think she's got something to offer going forward. We're certainly going to stay very closely following her, like you guys, and she could get over a little further, perhaps.
I'll look forward to her over the 600. And just the final one, Tommy Shelby continues to do outstanding things at stud. We know he's got litters on the ground up in the UK, in Ireland, and also in UK. Just a quick update, Tommy, how he's going. Is he still filling his 14 serves per month comfortably?
Not quite hitting those levels. The breeding's probably not at the levels it used to be. Obviously, everything's in a very maintainable levels now. So, there's not as many litters going on the ground as what they were 10 years ago. So he's still going quite well at stud, and he had a good Christmas period. Certainly likes a Christmas tree. It's a great toilet.
Excellent.
Keeps things interesting in the house. Yeah, he's a fan of the baubles.
Oh, I bet he is.
He's a very happy dog.
Oh, he is.
A very happy life, and
Well, he runs the house. Yeah. He runs the Withers household, as he should. What a beautiful canine he is. Beautifully done, Stevie. Thank you so much for your time this morning here on The Aftermath. Continued success to your team, and good luck there in the Birthday Cup with Uncle Tommy from box number 8 there next Friday night.
Thanks, guys. We need it.
There he goes, Steve Withers there. Now, there has been a wicket in the cricket. Cummins has broken through Jadeja. Caught behind by Carey. He missed the previous, didn't get a feather on it, then found the edge.
Through. Now, Marty, that wicket means that we can tick off our man Pat Cummins' most wickets for Australia.
Thank you very much.
We've ticked off most wickets India.
Yes,
Jasprit Bumrah. We've ticked off most runs Jaiswal. And Travis Head is 104 runs in front of Steve Smith going into this final innings. Now, if we can get the final tick off there, that means we've gone bingo, bango, bingo, bongo. 4 for 4 on our Tab Touch blog preview. Free for every big series. I put it out there year in, year out. It's there. 180 to 1. It's the darts special. 180 if it lobs. Plenty of little multis rolling in and out of this. Punters, give strength to our man, if he needs to bat and make some runs today, Travis Head, or let's just keep Steve Smith under 104 runs. And there'll be some good drinking and eating going on from the Shortte household and also the Primate indoor cricket franchise that have had significant investments on that particular 4-pack.
Joined in with the Indian connection side of it. I got a little bit weak about the Aussies, but that's all. Very happy with, small wins will do me at the moment.
The way through. And also our Tab Touch exclusives at the start of the series were Jasprit Bumrah, our star bet. $3.50 the boost, so that's $70 if you had your 20 on there. And Travis Head, most runs Australia, was boosted $4.75 to 6. So anyone that took the 20 there, there's $120 there if Trav can hold on today as well. So fingers crossed.
Talking about that, Rahul and Travis Head have sort of lost form at the same time, haven't they? They've been in terrific form throughout.
Yeah, their first 3 test matches, they were all running hot. And then the last 2, they've both come off. Indeed.
Okay, time for a break. We'll be back, and Lukey Campbell comes up.
Taking off and back last, still Odinaka. And so the sprint really going on in earnest as they come into the turn. The leader travelling particularly well. Profit and Power by 2, Forever Dreaming. Storm again the inside, followed by the Spruker. They go to the 250. Profit and Power in front by a length and a half. The Spruker runs on down the outside, but Profit and Power is clear. With inside the last 100, he's got their measure. Profit and Power comes away. Profit and Power all the way. Beat home the Spruker. Storm again. Forever Dreaming ran 4th.
Yeah, well done. First leg of a winning double for Lukey Campbell, who joins us on the program. Very good morning, Luke.
Good morning, guys. Thanks for having me on again.
Absolute pleasure, Luke, and congratulations on the double there yesterday. Let's touch on the winner that we just heard from their Profit and Power from the very strong Jim Taylor stable, and it was a pretty comfortable victory in the end. You would have been happy with the way things panned out there.
Yeah, definitely. Look, he was obviously dropping back from the 1800 down to the mile yesterday, but he's a fit horse now. He's won a few on the trot, and he's had a few runs this prep. He actually hasn't put in a bad run this prep, so he's going really well. He's a nice, big, strong type, and yeah, yesterday he showed that. There was no speed in the race on paper, so I was able to get things my own way. I got it pretty good, cheap sectionals early, and then I just put put the foot on the gas from the half mile, and I just felt like I had a lot of horse under me the whole time, so it was a really good win.
Geez, I thought this was a beautiful bit of race programming. He's just walked in here. He's got a head the size of 2 watermelons, and he's very happy with his own work, Luke. You know who I'm talking about?
Yeah, Lockie Taylor.
Yeah, I think he might have enjoyed this win more than others. He seems a little bit on the seedy side today.
Yeah, that's good. Like, keep him in the good books.
But look, we said this about before it won its race, that he was going to get into a beautiful patch of form, this horse, and he should continue going on his winning way, you'd think.
Yeah, definitely. I think obviously we know he can run over ground, so I think he won good over the mile yesterday, but when he gets back out to 18 again, and even the trip of 2000, I think he'll still have races in him to win. He seems to handle his racing really well. He's a really big, strong horse. He's got, even like from the start of the prep when I started riding, I feel like he's improved. Like he used to stargaze a little bit when he got to the front when I was winning on him at the start of the prep. But when I won on him yesterday, he knew his job and he hit the line well and kept running through the line. So for that, I was proud of his effort yesterday, and it was a really good win.
And the other leg of the winning double was Do I Feel Lucky for the Casey camp there yesterday. Really nice performance. Sat up on top of the speed outside for the period of race, and then really was the strong late in the piece. Went on with the job. You rated the horse really well, Luke. You must have been delighted again with the performance of the horse, sitting up there in a good spot. Seemed to be very comfortable in the run, and then when you asked the horse for that ultimate performance late there, the horse really did dig in for you.
Yeah, look, I really appreciate riding that horse from the Casey team and Mr. Daly, but he's a really nice 2-year-old. He's still so raw and immature. Like, he's still got so much to learn, like racing-wise. We saw that in his debut when Chris Parnham rode him. He struggled to get around the corner and everything, and then he still found the line nice. So yesterday when the winkers went on and that he already had a race start under his belt, I was quite happy to take the ride on him. I was actually a bit surprised that Chris got off him, but more than happy to pick up what Chris doesn't want to ride, because they go pretty good, and this 2-year-old's quite a nice horse, so I'm excited to see what his future has in store for him.
Okay, so a little step up to 1,100 metres certainly looked like it suited him as well, so the 1,200 you'd imagine won't be any problem either?
Yeah, definitely. Look, he ran through the line really well, like stepping up to 1,100, he ran through the line really well, so stepping up to the 1,200 would be no problem for him. He didn't give me the feeling at all like he was sort of getting to the end of his run. He sort of just continued his run through the line and finished off the race really well. I actually thought, like, as a 2-year-old, when they get to the front, you can expect him to maybe stargaze a little bit, but I was pretty proud of his effort. Like, he got there and there was no other horses around him, but he kept continuing his run through, and I was able to put the whip away and just ride in hands and heels sort of like the last 50 or 100 metres, which was quite impressive from a young 2-year-old, so credit to the horse.
Indeed. You also managed to see Snow Prince and also El Patron both into the placings there yesterday. Wins in store for either of those two gallopers over the next few weeks?
Look, I think Snow Prince is knocking on the door. He's just a better horse over 1,200. He sort of got run off his legs yesterday. I had to put him under pressure quite early. But if they can find a nice 1,200-metre race for him, definitely I think he'll be a good winning hope, like coming up in the next couple of starts. But El Patron, look, he's going well. He loves to run second or third, but he ran a good race yesterday. We drew the widest barrier and I had to do a little bit of work to cross him, but once I got there, he relaxed well, and I thought he finished off the race quite well. I hope he's got more wins in store. He might win a couple more races when Gian sort of claims 4 on him and she can ride him. But he's going well. The team, Simon's got him going well.
Lukey, thanks for coming on the program today. Continued success.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate having me on.
There he goes, Luke Campbell.
Just
in
quickly
good form
to
with that
Marty.
Double. Yep.
So far, pick Brad up. Race 3, number 2. I think he said race 3, number 1, Spear. It's race 3, number 2. So that Sunday saviour from Brad Mornington, race 2, number 7, race 3, number 2, and Lismore, race 3, number 4, $7.57 for his Sunday saviour today if you're playing along there. Good.